Two NFC North rivals at 2-0, both wanting to stay undefeated. Who came out on top? Ezekiel Elliott with his new team, the New England Patriots, took a visit down to Texas to take on the Cowboys. Did he come out on top? And which of our currently winless teams managed to get their first win of the season? All of this and more coming up here on Tecmo Rewind. Hello everyone and welcome to Tecmo Rewind. I'm your host Joe, here to bring you all the highlights from around the league. Week 4 is in the books, and I know some people are still confused because we didn't have a week 3. That's still due to the saga of the players in the NFL realizing they are not actually people, they are just video game characters. Hard to believe, a lot of us were shocked they found out, but they managed to get a rework deal with the owners. We don't quite know the details of that deal, but we will get you that information when it becomes available to us, the media. But in the meantime, we've got 16 great games on the schedule, some a little bit more high profile than others. For example, we're going to start in the AFC North with a division rivalry battle. The Ravens heading to Ohio to take on the Browns. First quarter, Lamar Jackson throws and gets picked off by Martin Edwards, so the Browns get the ball for their first attempt. Deshaun Watson throws to his left for Donovan Peoples-Jones. The people have spoken, and they will not be getting a touchdown, but they'll get a 53-yard catch. That's pretty good. And that'll help to set up this Watson throw for Amari Cooper. A 22-yard touchdown. Browns strike first at 7-0. Then, later on in the same quarter, Browns, at the end of the quarter, Watson gets wrapped up by David Ojabo, sent back 3 yards. But on the very first play of the second quarter, a throw once again to Amari Cooper. Leaps up to get this catch and makes it a 50-yard touchdown, 14-0 Browns. Then, Lamar Jackson throws for what he hoped was going to be Odell Beckham Jr. Instead, he finds Juan Thornhill, who gets the pick. But Roquan Smith gets some revenge with a nice-looking 8-yard sack. That forces the Browns to settle for this 51-yard field goal by Dustin Hopkins. It's 17-0 Browns. On the next drive for the Ravens, Greg Newsome gets a 10-yard sack on Lamar. Then, right after, Myles Garrett makes it a safety, 19-0. Then, on the Browns' next drive, Dustin Hopkins does it again, 22-0 Cleveland. Ravens on their next drive, Greg Newsome gets to Lamar again. Lamar finally then gets a chance to throw for Rashad Bateman, who's going to take this one into Cleveland territory, and he's going to fumble the ball, and it's going to get picked up by Greg Newsome. He is going to end the half with the fumble recovery. Going into the third quarter, Browns get deep into Ravens territory. David Ojabo wraps up and takes down Deshaun Watson for a 3-yard sack, so they're forced to settle for a 30-yard field goal from Dustin Hopkins. It's 25-0, though. Cleveland has the lead. Lamar needs some help, needs some big plays. They got a good new acquisition in the offseason. It's OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. He gets into deep Cleveland territory on this 52-yard catch. On that later play, looks for Beckham again, throws it to him. 18-yard touchdown. It's 25-7, so the Ravens will not be shut out. But not to be outdone, Watson's going to roll to his right and throw for Jordan Akins. 32-7 Browns. On the Ravens' next drive, Jackson, he liked throwing to him the first few times. Let's throw to him again. OBJ gets wrapped up by a Brown in Cleveland territory, but it's a 50-yard catch. And that'll help to set up this 22-yard touchdown to Zay Flowers, who dies for this one, 32-14. In the fourth quarter, Watson gets taken down by Roquan Smith, a 10-yard sack. They do get later into the drive, get further into Ravens territory, and now it's Marcus Williams' turn to get the sack, a 4-yard sack. That forced them to settle for the 22-yard field goal by Dustin Hopkins. 35-14, Cleveland has the lead by 3 touchdowns. But let's make it 2 touchdowns, says OBJ as he leaps up to get this one. A 62-yard touchdown catch will not be caught, 35-21. On the ensuing Browns drive, Watson throws for David Njoku, and Njoku breaks a tackle, but the next tackle gets him to fumble the ball. Someone on Baltimore recovers it. Doesn't matter really who, but that helps with Lamar getting a 1-yard touchdown run. It's 35-28. Then, just a run-in from Nick Chubb seals the deal. 42-28. Cleveland gets the win over Baltimore. They go up to 2-1. They get a bye week next week before they take on San Francisco. Baltimore heads to Pittsburgh. Now down to Texas for a silver and blue matchup. The Patriots get Mac Jones back. They're going to need him against the Cowboys. Literally the first play of the game. Deuce Vaughn is going to take this one 33 yards on a kick return. However, Dallas would be unable to do anything with it. So, Patriots drive down the length of the field. Mac Jones gets wrapped up and sacked by Deron Bland for a 3-yard sack. That forces them to settle for a 30-yard field goal by Chad Ryland. So the Patriots strike first. It's 3-0. They get the ball back, drive down the length of the field. Chad Ryland then kicks this one in from 44 yards out on a doink. 6-0 Patriots. Then, Prescott play action, but he fumbles the ball. It's picked up by Lawrence Guy after it bounces around a bunch. And Lawrence Guy's going to break 1, 2, 3, 4 different tackles. 13-0 Patriots. But in the second corner, Tony Pollard punches it in from 1 yard out. 13-7. Mac Jones then gets wrapped up and sacked by DeMarcus Lauren on a 7-yarder. They're forced to punt. But another Jones, Marcus Jones, gets a sack of his own, a 9-yarder on Prescott. Later on in the same set of downs, Matthew Judon gets a 9-yard sack of his own. Cowboys are forced to punt. Ramondre Stevenson just going to run it in from 5 yards out. 27, Patriots have the lead. First drive for the Patriots in the second half. Ramondre Stevenson is going to get wrapped up and hurt on this 7-yard run. So that means next man up for New England. Who's the next man up in the running back position? Former Cowboy Ezekiel Elliott. However, Jonathan Hankins gets a 6-yard sack on Mac Jones. So that means they had to go for a field goal, which they missed, 55-yarder. So Brandon Cook's just going to take this one a 23-yard touchdown. It's 20-14 New England. Osei Odigizua would get an 8-yard sack on Mac Jones. They're forced to punt. Prescott looks for Michael Gallup. Instead, he finds Kyle Duggar, who gets the pick. On the later play in the drive, Devontae Parker. Can he? Will he? Could he? He does not. But a 51-yard catch. That sets up this play by Mac Jones looking for Devontae Parker yet again. 20-yard touchdown. It's 27-14 New England. Then Prescott, racked up and sacked by Marcus Jones. Again, a 10-yard sack. Very next play, Jawan Bentley gets a sack of his own. This one from 9 yards out. Fourth quarter, Cowboys in desperation mode. Prescott looks for CeeDee Lamb. Jumps up to get it. Did he get the first down? They're going to say he is short, so it's a turnover on downs. So Mac says, hey, Ezekiel, how about you get a touchdown on your old team here? 4-yard touchdown run, 34-14 New England. But Prescott, not done yet. Throws for Michael Gallup, who gets an 8-yard touchdown catch, 34-21. But they got a new acquisition of their own. It's Juju Smith-Schuster, a 14-yard touchdown, which he gets tackled on immediately, but it's 41-21. Then, Jake Ferguson's going to take this one on the next Cowboys drive, and he is going to get brought down and fumbles it. It's Kyle Duggar there to recover it yet again. That helps to set up this amazing-looking 28-yard catch, threading the needle for the Patriots to get a 48-21 lead. Michael Gallup would get this pass from Dak Prescott, make it a 15-yard fourth down conversion, but it does not matter. New England's going to come away with the 48-21 victory in this one. They get New Orleans next week, whereas Dallas, they have to head to San Francisco for our Week 5 game of the week. Now for an NFC North rivalry, the Lions taking on the Packers. Keyshawn Nixon's going to come back for Green Bay. They might need him. First quarter, Goff going to try whatever he did against Kansas City in Week 1. Unfortunately, it doesn't work this time. Rashawn Gary ready for him, a 2-yard sack. That forced them to rely on a Riley Patterson 19-yard field goal. 3-0 Lions strike first. But the Packers drive down the length of the field. Christian Watson gets a nice-looking pass from Jordan Love in the back of the end zone. It's 7-3 Green Bay. They drive down the length of the field again. They try for a 60-yard field goal by Anders Carlson, but it's short. Very next play, Goff, play action, hooks up with his favorite target, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Can he? Could he? Will he? He will. 59-yard touchdown. It's 10-7 Detroit. Then, Love throws for Romeo Doubs. Instead, he finds Kirby Joseph, who gets the pick. They drive down the field some more, and David Montgomery going to punch this one in from 5 yards out. No one there to really get to him. 17-7 Lions. But Packers drive down the length of the field. Love for Christian Watson. It's a 7-yard touchdown. Makes it 17-14. Patterson makes a 28-yard field goal. Puts the Lions up 20-14. Third quarter. Love looking, firing for Christian Watson. He gets him. Can he? Could he? Will he? He dodges one tackle, but he can't dodge the other two. Still a 73-yard catch. Helps to set up this play. Love throws for Aaron Jones. Instead, he finds Kirby Joseph. But Joseph's going to fumble the ball. It's going to get scooped up by Christian Watson. That's a 10-yard scoop and score. Green Bay leads 21-20. That pass that looked like it was meant for Luke Musgrave gets picked off by Emmanuel Mosley. That helps to set up this short little touchdown pass from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown in the back of the end zone. It's 27-20 Lions. Alexander Loney then would get to Jordan Love on a 7-yard sack. They're forced to punt. So Goff on the next drive for the Lions, dropping back and throws for Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown, well, he's not quite deep enough that he can get it on his own, but a 50-yard catch, that looks pretty good. That helps to set up, once again, a touchdown run by David Montgomery. This time even less opposition near him, a 7-yard touchdown run, 34-21. But the Packers, they've got another runner of their own, Emmanuel Wilson. An 11-yard touchdown run makes it 34-28. But on the next drive, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to take this one in from 15 yards out, 41-28. We're in a big shootout. Kayshawn Nixon, he just came back from injury for the Packers, and on the ensuing kickoff takes this one 35 yards. But on the very next play, Charles Harris says, yeah, let's get you pushed back 3 yards on a sack. But it's okay because the Packers drive down the field some more, and Aaron Jones takes this one in from 5 yards out, 41-34, because Anders Carlson's extra point was blocked. So, Goff looking and firing to his right for Josh Reynolds. 9-yard touchdown, 48-34 Detroit. Love throws to his left for Romeo Doubs. He gets in on an 18-yard touchdown. They go for the onside kick. Unfortunately, it does not matter. Detroit picks it up, and they're going to end the game with this one. Detroit makes it 3 in a row against Green Bay, 48-41. They go to 3-0 and take on Carolina next week. Green Bay, though, drops to 2-1, but they head to Las Vegas. And speaking of Las Vegas, they're taking on the Chargers today in LA. First quarter, Austin Eckler tackled behind the line, 3 yards. He is then injured. So that means Joshua Kelly is going to come in to replace him at running back. And the Chargers got to settle for a 38-yard field goal by Dicker the kicker. 3-0, LA takes the lead. Then, first drive for the Raiders. Garoppolo rolls to his left, looks and finds Devontae Adams. Adams deep downfield. He's going to take this one 57 yards, but he does get wrapped up and taken down. That's all right. Garoppolo's got plenty of weapons. Hands this one off to Josh Jacobs, runs it in for 7 yards out. It's 7-3 Raiders. Then, on the next drive for the Chargers, Kelly is going to fumble this ball, and it's going to get recovered by Marcus Epps of the Raiders. But Austin Johnson going to get a sack to push Vegas back. That's all right, says Daniel Carlson. I can make this one 48 yards out. So it's 10-3 Raiders. But Chargers not to be outdone or underestimated. Herbert looking and fires to his right for Gerald Everett in the end zone. It's a 27-yard touchdown to tie it up. DeAndre Carter, though, channels his inner Devin Hester. He is going to take this one into Chargers territory. He's finally taken down at about the 40. So that will help to set up this connection of Garoppolo getting sacked by Austin Johnson. Never mind. Let's try this again. This sets up the connection from Garoppolo over the middle, just in time to find Hunter Renfrow. It's 17-10 Raiders. Oh, by the way, Max Crosby says, I want to score too. He's going to take a scoop and score after, just like Lawrence Guy, breaking 4 tackles. It's 24-10 Raiders. But Max Crosby's not done with the awesome defensive plays. He gets a 7-yard sack. And on the very next play, Herbert throws for Joshua Kelly. Kelly's going to get the ball, but again he fumbles it. And this time it gets picked up by Jerry Tillery for the 12-yard scoop and score. It's 31-10 Raiders. Then Herbert says, you know what, I'm done with this. Throws to his left for Mike Williams. Can he? Could he? Will he? He's going to be caught by the entire Raiders defense, but 62-yard catch helps to set up the Joshua Kelly 1-yard touchdown run. It's 31-17. Carlson makes it a 47-yard field goal at the end of the half. It's 34-17. Raiders! Herbert dropping back in the first drive he has in the second half. Throw is for Joshua Palmer, 21-yard touchdown, makes it 34-24. So it's still a 10-point game. Garoppolo looking and firing for Hunter Renfrow. He finds Asante Samuel Jr. who jumps to pick him off. Unfortunately, Chargers have to settle for a 24-yard field goal by Cameron Dicker. It's 34-27, so they're down by only a touchdown. Only a touchdown, says Morgan Fox. Let's try to help out this team. He gets the fumble recovery that Jimmy Garoppolo was strip sacked on. Fortunately, can't do anything with it. Have to settle for a 29-yard field goal. It's still 34-30. Raiders! Oh, hey, did you know Khalil Mack used to be a Raider? Well, he's going to remind Jimmy G about that fact. A 7-yard sack at the end of the third quarter. So the Chargers get the ball back. Everett is going to be the target of Herbert on this one. 22-yard touchdown catch. It's now 37-34 Chargers. DeAndre Carter doesn't like the sound of that. He's not going to take it quite as deep as what he did last time. But a 36-yarder into shallow Raiders territory, he does like that idea. Garoppolo running for his life as he rolls to his left. He throws for Devontae Adams. 57-yard touchdown. It's 41-37 Vegas Raiders. Max Crosby not done with the defensive heroics. 7-yard sack. That's okay, Herbert says. I got plenty of weapons. Throws for Joshua Palmer. And he's going to break all the tackles. The 21-yard touchdown makes it 44-41 Chargers. Bastion Joseph Day gets in on the defensive action. An 8-yard sack. They're forced to punt. But Max Crosby gets one more sack. A 7-yard sack. But a Cameron Dicker field goal makes it 47-41 Chargers. Raiders would never get a chance to score on the kickoff return. LA is going to win this one and go to 3-0. They get a bye week and then they take on Dallas. Vegas, like we said, they get Green Bay in what's hopefully Adams' revenge game. Now from two AFC West teams to a third. Then Broncos head to Chicago this week to take on the Bears. First quarter, Justin Fields gets sacked by Zach Allen, sent back 5 yards. They're forced to punt. Broncos then punt on their next drive. However, Velus Jones Jr. fumbles the ball and Javonte Williams picks up for a 17-yard scoop and scored 7-0 Broncos. So, Fields on the next drive looks for somebody we haven't heard good things from since he got traded. It's Chase Claypool. Could he? No, he can't. But a 53-yard catch does help set up this play later on in the drive. Fields with plenty of time looking and fires for Mapletron again on a 24-yard touchdown catch that he leapt for. It's tied at 7. But Wilson's got a pretty good wide receiver of his own in Jerry Jeudy. Can he? Could he? Will he? He will not. But a 74-yard catch. Very next play, Wilson says, second verse, same as first. Looks and fires to his right for Jeudy. Again, a 10-yard touchdown catch makes it 14-7 Denver. Bears do drive down the length of the field on their next drive, but they have to rely on a Cairo Santos 32-yarder. It's 14-10 Denver. But Javonte Williams says, make it 21-10 on this 3-yard punch-in. Very next drive, Fields throws for Darnell Mooney. Instead, he finds Damari Mathis with the pick. So, that helps with Broncos. Javonte Williams gets tackled and fumbles the ball, but he fumbles it out of bounds, thankfully. So, later on in the drive, Wilson gonna play action this one and roll to his left and fire to his left for Cortland Sutton in the back of the end zone, 28-10 at the half. Third quarter, Wilson, line couldn't quite protect you forever. Jack Sanborn's gonna get the 3-yard sack on this, and they're forced to punt. Bears punt. Very next drive for the Broncos, Andrew Billings gets an 8-yard sack. Very next play, Wilson throws for Jerry Jeudy. 52-yarder, not quite deep enough to score, but still pretty good. However, Wilson will get wrapped up and sacked by DeMarcus Walker as he tries to adjust. So that means the Broncos got to settle for a 34-yard field goal by Will Lutz. It's 31-10 Denver. On the ensuing kickoff, Velus Jones Jr. says, I'm sorry about that punt return fumble. Let me make it up to you with a 47-yard kick return that barely gets to midfield. That'll help to set up this Khalil Herbert 4-yard punch-in run that he has to break through. So not quite a punch-in. So it's 31-17 Denver. Fourth quarter, Andrew Billings is going to get to Russell Wilson again, 8-yard sack. So they're forced to punt. Very next play, Fields running and throws for Mapletron. Mapletron is going to get taken down, and he is going to fumble the ball. It's picked up by Jonathan Harris of Denver. So Wilson just going to look and fire to Jerry Jeudy. He's going to make this 54-yard catch. And by 54 yards, I mean it's a touchdown. It's 38-17 Denver. But Justin Fields, you know what? Fine. I'll do this myself. runs into a few linemen, but is able to evade everybody else on this 35-yard touchdown run. That's what they tried to draft him for. It's 38-24. The Bears would then recover the onside kick. However, Darnell Mooney's pass gets picked off by Alex Singleton. That's all right, because Jalen Johnson's going to get revenge for it and pick off the pass meant for Adam Troutman. So, Bears, Fields runs it in himself yet again. A 9-yard touchdown makes it 38-30 because Cairo Santos missed the extra point on a doink. Bears fans and doinks, they hate those things. Javonte Williams just going to punch it in from 6 yards out. Makes this game over 45-30. Denver takes the win. They get the Jets next week, whereas the Bears head to Washington to take on the Commanders. They drop to 0-3. Speaking of the Jets, they're taking on the final of our AFC West teams in the Kansas City Chiefs. First quarter, Quincy Williams is going to get to Patrick Mahomes on a play action, a 10-yard sack, but they're still able to drive down the length of the field, and it leads to Mahomes, toss it to Isaiah Pacheco. No one near him for most of that. A 5-yard touchdown run. Chiefs strike first at 7-0, but Aaron Rodgers will not be denied. He's going to look and throw to his right for Garrett Wilson. Can he? Could he? Will he? He won't, but he makes a pretty nice-looking 69-yard catch. Very next play, Rodgers going to hook up with Allen Lazard in the end zone, 17-yard touchdown. It's tied at 7. Next drive for the Chiefs. Mahomes, play action, rolls to his left. Quincy Williams there again, but those who fail history are doomed to repeat it. Isaiah Pacheco again gets a touchdown run on a punch-in. 2-yard touchdown makes it 14-7. Greg Zuerlein will get a chance to make it 14-10, and he does on this 50-yard field goal, but Kadarius Toney and Patrick Mahomes hook up once again. This time, it's a 24-yard touchdown. It's 21-10 Chiefs. Chris Jones then gets to Aaron Rodgers on this 8-yard sack, but that's all right. The Jets drive down the length of the field. Rodgers looks to his left and fires for Allen Lazard again on a 21-yard touchdown. It's 21-16, though, because Greg Zuerlein's extra point was blocked by Kansas City. So, near the end of the first half, Mahomes, play action, rolls to his left. This is what he wanted to do those last 2 times. Throws for Kadarius Toney from 49 yards out. It's 28-16 Chiefs. Third quarter. Mecole Hardman Jr. is going to fumble the ball out of bounds, but that's still pretty good for the Jets because it means an Allen Lazard 10-yard touchdown later on. It's 28-23, though. Jerick McKinnon says, hey, I can make some pretty good kick returns too. A 30-yard kick return. That'll help with the Chiefs to set up this Mahomes to Travis Kelce. 21-yard touchdown, 35-23, Kansas City. Greg Zuerlein is going to make this 42-yard field goal, a 35-26 game for the Chiefs to be in the lead still. But Isaiah Pacheco wants to extend it further. It's 42-26, Kansas City. Later on, Rodgers, sacked by Willie Gay, sends them back 10 yards. Chris Jones gets another sack. This one sends him back 11 yards. So, Jets, 4th down. Rodgers looks to his right for Dalvin Cook, his new favorite toy. And unfortunately, doesn't work on that one. They turn over on down. So Travis Kelce just going to take this one 14-yard touchdown, 49-26 Kansas City. Rodgers gets sacked again by Willie Gay and another 11-yard sack. Can they try to get a 4th down conversion on this one? Not quite. Wilson unable to dive and catch that ball. So that means that the Chiefs just got to hand it off to Isaiah Pacheco. 9-yard touchdown run, 56-26 Kansas City. Then Rodgers going to try and run to his left, but he gets taken down by Derek Nunati on a 7-yard sack. Then right after, Willie Gay gets a 9-yard sack. So that means they're forced to try to punt it. I don't know why they're punting. I guess they're just done with it. Mahomes says, that's all right. I'll just run this in 6 yards myself. 63-26. Mecole Hardman's going to try to do something cool with this 31-yard kick return. However, this pass that was meant for Dalvin Cook gets picked off by Trent McDuffie. 63-26, Kansas City takes on Minnesota in Minnesota next week. They go to 2-1. The Jets drop to 0-3. I looked at the AFC West. Now let's look at the NFC West. Cardinals taking on the 49ers. First quarter, George Kittle is going to take this ball, and he's going to get hurt on this 19-yard catch. So that means he's taken out of the game, and Charlie Warner is going to come in to replace him at tight end. but that's alright, because on the very next play, Sam Darnold, who's coming in for the injured Brock Purdy, looks and fires to his left, for Brandon Ayuk, who gets the 62-yard touchdown to make the 49ers strike first at 7-0. On the ensuing kickoff, Greg Dortch is now hurt. It's on this 15-yard kick return. That means Keontae Ingram has to come in to replace him on both kicks and punt returns. Still later on in the drive, Dobbs gets safetied by Nick Bosa on a 9-yard sack. It's 9-0 49ers. But LJ Collier, he's going to get a sack of his own, this 3-yard sack. But the 49ers still able to drive down the length of the field, throw for Deebo Samuel, a 15-yard touchdown, 16-0 San Francisco. Nick Bosa's not done! He's going to get a 9-yard sack here. They're forced to punt. Zaven Collins then gets a sack of his own, a 9-yard sack on Darnold. Then it's Kaiser White's turn later on in the drive, an 11-yard sack. Very next play, Darnold looking for Kyle Juszczyk. He instead finds Budda Baker on that interception. So the Cardinals going to try something. Hand off to James Conner. He gets through. He gets a 22-yard touchdown. Cardinals will not be shut out. It's 16-7. Ensuing kickoff return. Ray McCloud. He is going to take this one 32 yards, but Sam Darnold will get sacked once again by LJ Collier. This time it's a 5-yard sack. So they're forced to punt. Very next drive for the Cardinals. Dobbs, plenty of time. Throw is intended for what looked to be Michael Wilson. Instead, he finds Demotre Lenore. And so, 49ers drive down the field. They're forced to settle for a 41-yard field goal. It's 19-7 San Francisco. Very next drive, though. Hollywood Brown in the end zone. A 6-yard touchdown catch makes it 19-14 49ers. Then this connection to Charlie Warner. He will not be stopped this time. A 53-yard touchdown, dodging, breaking tackles, and setting up 26-14 at the half. Third quarter, Brown once again. What can Hollywood Brown do for you? Well, he won't score on this one, but he'll make a 65-yard catch. And that'll help to set up this Dobbs connection with who he was trying to throw it last time, Michael Wilson. 21-yard touchdown makes it 26-21. Kaiser White then gets to Sam Darnold again on the 11-yard sack, and that forces Darnold to throw for Brandon Ayuk. He's picked off by Budda Baker again. But, unfortunately, Cardinals unable to do anything with it. Darnold throws and finds Charlie Warner, who jumps up to get that ball. He is going to take this one 51 yards to about the 2. Almost got in for a score. That's all right. Christian McCaffrey can do that with a 2-yard punch-in. 33-21 49ers. But Hollywood Brown will not be denied. He's going to take this one from 23 yards out. It's 33-28. Fourth quarter, we still got a surprisingly close game. Jonathan Ledbetter going to get the 8-yard sack. They're forced to punt. Then Dobbs hooks up with a different target. This time it's Rondale Moore, who is deep into 49ers territory. Jumps up, dodges a tackle. Fortunately, he can't dodge that one, but a 73-yard catch. Unfortunately, Cardinals have to settle for a 25-yard field goal by Matt Prater. It's 33-31. Game is still very close. Then, well, just hand it off to that guy. Christian McCaffrey's going to run it in. It's 40-31. Cardinals need some help. Unfortunately, James Conner will not do it for them. They turn over on downs. Christian McCaffrey says, let's just make it an even bigger hole for the Cardinals. 47-31 on that 17-yard touchdown run. Then Dobbs throws for James Conner this time. Instead, he finds Travius Ward, who gets the pick. And that sets up this connection from Darnold to Deebo Samuel. 25-yard touchdown catch makes it 54-31 49ers. Keontae Ingram, however, just to add insult to injury, he's going to get hurt on this 24-yard kick return. So Amari DiMercado coming to replace him if he and Dortch are unable to return next week. 54-31, San Francisco gets the AFC West win. They get to take on Dallas in our game of the week next week. San Francisco improves to 3-0. Arizona drops to 1-2. They take on Cincinnati. Now to our game of the week. Minnesota Vikings taking on the Carolina Panthers. First quarter, Greg Joseph's 30-yard field goal is blocked and then gets recovered by Carolina and Derek Brown. However, on the very next play, first play of scrimmage for the Panthers offense, Bryce Young gets wrapped up and taken down by Harrison Phillips. Very next play after that, Dean Lowry gets his turn at sacking Bryce Young for a 7-yard sack after an 8-yarder. They're forced to punt, and Alexander Mattison gets to punch this in from 2 yards out, 7-0 Minnesota. However, on the next drive for Carolina, Jordan Hicks gets a 2-yard sack, so they're forced to settle for an Eddie Pinheiro 32-yard field goal in the second quarter. 7-3, Vikings still have the lead. On the ensuing kickoff return, Tyson Ty Chandler takes this one 32 yards out from where he started. However, Derek Brown gets a sack of his own for Carolina. It's an 8-yard sack. That's all right, because later on, Cousins looks and fires for Offensive Player of the Year last year. Justin Jefferson makes the 42-yard touchdown, 14-3 Minnesota. Brian Asamoah then gets his turn to sack Bryce Young. What is this, the Purple People Eaters of the 70s? So they're forced to punt. On the ensuing Vikings drive, this pass meant for C.J. Ham gets picked off by Von Bell. However, on the Panthers' next drive, pass meant for DJ Chark, picked off by Cameron Bynum, so it's 14-3 going into halftime. Third quarter, Jordan Hicks. First play on the Vikings get a repeat sack this week. However, right after this toss to Chuba Hubbard, he's going to run it 18 yards, and then he's going to be hurt. So that's another injury at running back for Carolina. They can't take too many of those. Look at what happened with Jacksonville last week. So Raheem Blackshear, the kick and punt returner, is going to come in for Hubbard at running back. Very next play, though, Raheem Blackshear is given the ball, and he will fumble it. And it's recovered by a Caleb Evans of the Vikings. That sets up this Alexander Mattison 7-yard touchdown. It's 21-13 Minnesota. Then Dean Lowry barely gets what we can consider a sack. Bryce Young tried to fight for it, but unfortunately not enough. So that means they got to settle for another Eddie Pinheiro field goal. 52-yarder makes it 21-6 Vikings. Young, later on in the game, he gets his next chance, throws for DJ Chark, who's going to take this one 56 yards, just short of the end zone. That's all right, just hand it off to Raheem Blackshear, runs it right in, 21-13. Not to be outdone. Cousins looks and fires for Jordan Addison. Addison has no one near him after that diving attempt. It's a 52-yard touchdown. 28-13 Minnesota. Brian Asamoah, another sack. Dean Lowry, another sack. It's fourth down. Young hands it off to Blackshear. He's not even close to the first down marker on that one. Greg Joseph then just kicks it in from 33 yards out, 31-13. It's a palindrome of a score. Vikings take the lead. And Young throws to his right for DJ Chark. Chark! Can he? Could he? Will he? He will not. Oh, 64-yard catch, though. However, Brian Asamoah gets another 10-yard sack, so it's fourth down. Blackshear gets the handoff, and he's nowhere even close to a first down. Deshaun Williams will get a 9-yard sack, but it does not matter. Vikings win this one 31-13. They go to 3-0, and they take on Kansas City next week. Meanwhile, Carolina heads to Detroit at 2-1. Now for an NFC East rivalry matchup. Jalen Hurts returning for the Philadelphia Eagles as they host the Washington Commanders. First quarter, Howell gets the ball first. He's going to hand off to Brian Robinson, and he is going to break so many tackles, but he fumbles it, and it's picked up by Jalen Carter, who's going to get a 20-yard scoop and score, so the Eagles strike first at 7-0. Jalen Carter not done with the defensive plays today. He's going to get a 5-yard sack on Sam Howell. Then, later on, Hurts going to hand this one off. No, it's a play action. He's going to throw for A.J. Brown. 17-yard touchdown catch makes it 14-0. On the ensuing kickoff, Antonio Gibson, he is going to take this and fumble the ball. It's picked up by Fletcher Cox. Cox breaks a tackle, and he's not going to get caught. 31-yard scoop and score. It's 21-0 Eagles. Then to add on to the pain for the Commanders, Antonio Gibson gets hurt on a 16-yard kick return. So that means Chris Rodriguez Jr. is going to come in for kick returns. But later on in the drive, Howell rolls to his right, looks and fires for Terry McLaurin. McLaurin is going to take this one into Eagles territory. Scary Terry gets a 50-yard catch. However, Sam Howell is going to get sacked by James Bradbury. That entire Eagles line was there to try and swarm him. Joey Sly goes for a 47-yard field goal, but he's wide left, so the Eagles get the ball. Hurts going to hook up with Devontae Smith for a 64-yard touchdown. No one can catch him. 28-0. Then, second quarter, Howell tosses to Brian Robinson. Robinson, he is going to fumble the ball. What is this? Ball's bouncing around. However, he recovers it. Robinson gets his own fumble back, and he gets the first down along with it. Nice hustle there, Brian. That sets up this connection from Howell to Jahan Dotson, who's already in the end zone. It's a 25-yard touchdown, 28-7 Eagles. Then, Hurts, play action. He's going to get sacked by Jamin Davis. So they're forced to punt. However, Jalen Carter, once again, he gets a sack. A 7-yard sack pushes them back and forces them to punt. However, on the punt, Olamide Zaccheaus fumbles, and it's recovered by Brian Robinson, who is he gonna get into the end zone? He's struggling. He won't, but he gets the fumble recovery, and the very next play, Howell gonna look and fire for Curtis Samuel this time over the middle. That's touchdown, makes it 28-14. Then Hurts going to get swarmed and sacked. This time it's Montez Sweat. 5-yard sack. The Washington defensive line is amazing. Jamin Davis going to show why he got a pretty good extension last year. 9-yard safety. It's 28-16. However, Howell is going to get sacked himself, this time by Fletcher Cox. An 8-yard sack. Very next play. Handoff is to Brian Robinson yet again. But he fumbles the ball and it's picked up immediately by Terrell Edmonds, who is going to take this one just short of the end zone. That's all right. Well, the Eagles not able to quite capitalize with it, but they're able to get a 31-16 lead off of Jake Elliott's field goal at the very end of the half. Third quarter, Joey Sly able to make this 46-yard field goal. It's 31-19 Eagles. On the Eagles' drive, Hurts, play action, rolls to his right. Looking, throws, barely gets it past the defender, and finds A.J. Brown. Can he? Could he? Will he? He won't. But a 61-yard catch does help set up Hurts to just run it in himself from 12 yards out. It's 38-19 Philadelphia. Then on the Commanders' ensuing drive, Howell gonna try and run forward a little bit, but Josh Sweat there to wrap him up and sack him 6 yards back. That forced them to rely on a Joey Sly 57-yarder, and he makes it. It's 38-22. Commanders not quite done, but Howell going to try and throw for it on the fourth down. He can't. It's incomplete. Turnover on downs. But on the very first play of the drive for the Eagles, Hurts, he's going to fumble this one. It's going to get picked up by Emmanuel Forbes, the first-round pick of the Commanders in the draft. Very next play, Robinson going to redeem himself, 2-yard touchdown punch-in. However, Joey Sly's going to miss the extra point, so it's a 10-point game. Eagles still have the lead. Devonta Smith says, let's make it 17. He's going to take this 46-yard touchdown. No one even close to him, 45-28. Then, on the ensuing kick return, Chris Rodriguez Jr. is going to take it 25 yards, and now he's hurt. So that means Dax Milne is going to come in on kick returns, just like he does for punt returns. Second and 10. Handoff for Brian Robinson. Robinson, he is going to fumble the ball, and it's picked up by James Bradbury. And he is going to run this one back to about the 15. That sets up Jalen Hurts running it in himself. Almost gets tackled, but he dodges the defender. 52-28 Eagles. However, Howell, the defense is not done for the Eagles. Avonte Maddox breaks 2 different tackles, dodges a third diving tackle, and he gets a scoop and score on this one. 59-28. Eagles get the win over their division rivals. They go up to 1-2. Washington drops to 1-2. Washington gets Chicago next week. Eagles get the Rams. Speaking of the Rams, they were in Indy taking on the Colts this week. First quarter, Stafford going to roll to his right, and he is going to throw for Tyler Higbee after avoiding getting tackled. Higbee breaks the tackle. It's 24-yard touchdown, 7-0 Rams. Then, Dallas Flowers. Well, DeAndre Carter wasn't the only person this week to channel his inner Devin Hester. A 56-yard kick return for the Colts helps to set up this touchdown catch to Michael Pittman Jr. It's tied up at 7 off that jump. Then for the Rams, Mount Forest Buccaneers going to get some Stafford on this 8-yard sack. They were forced to punt. Then, later, Rams get it back, and now it's Samson Ebukham's chance to get a 9-yard sack, but that's alright. Hand it off to Cam Akers later on for a 3-yard touchdown run, 14-7 LA. Zach Moss. Now it's his turn to get the handoff. However, he's going to fumble the ball. Rusty's going to pick it up at the very end of the first quarter. Second quarter, very first play of the drive for the Rams. It's a strip sack of Matthew Stafford, and it's going to get picked up by DeForest Buckner. And Buckner is going to take this one into Rams territory for the Colts. They'll drive down the length of the field, and Richardson just going to hand this one off to Zach Moss. Moss going to get pretty much no resistance. 4-yard touchdown run ties it up at 14. Kyren Williams, however, is also going to channel his inner Devin Hester, just like Carter and Flowers did earlier this week. Oh, Flowers did it earlier in that game anyway. A 66-yard kick return, but later on in the drive, Zaire Franklin going to wrap up and take down Matthew Stafford on this sack for 4 yards. That's alright, just toss to Cam Akers later on in the drive, and he'll run it in from 10 yards out after breaking and dodging. So it's 21-14 Rams. Then, Richardson is going to get sacked by Michael Hocht for a 10-yard sack. Very next play, Richardson gonna run forward with it. He's sacked by Kobe Durant. So they're forced to punt. Samson Ebukham then gets an 8-yard sack on Matthew Stafford. Very next play, now it's Zaire Franklin's turn for a 5-yard sack. That ends the half. Third quarter, Richardson looks to his right and throws for Mo Alley Cox in the end zone for a 21-yard touchdown to tie it up at 21. First drive for the Rams in the second half. We'll have Shaq Leonard sack Matthew Stafford back 7 yards. That's all right, because later on, Tutu Atwell. Can he? Could he? Will he? He will not. But a 63-yard catch, not bad. However, DeForest Buckner says, yeah, no, I'm still here. 6-yard sack. So that means they got to rely on Brett Maher making a 34-yard field goal. It's 24-21. Rams have the lead now still. Later, Colts forced to punt. Later on in the Rams drive afterwards, Zaire Franklin gets an 11-yard sack. Very next play, Zaire Franklin again gets a 9-yard sack. So they got to rely on a Brett Maher 30-yard field goal, which he makes. It's 27-21. LA still has the lead. Then on the ensuing kickoff, Dallas Flowers is going to be hurt on this 11-yard return. So that means Deion Jackson is going to come in to replace him on both kick and punt returns. Very next play does not get much easier for the Colts as Michael Hocht gets another sack. This one a 6-yard sack. That pushes him backwards. Later on, Kobe Durant gets a sack of his own. Richardson thankfully not in the end zone when he gets sacked, but it's still a sack and they're still forced to punt. Now it's Grover Stewart's time to wrap up Matthew Stafford on this 2-yard sack. Very next play, now it's Kenny Moore's turn to sack him. This one pushes him back 6 yards. However, still able to drive down the field. Stafford looks and fires for Van Jefferson in the end zone. It's 34-21 Rams. Fourth quarter, fourth down. Colts turnover on downs off that Zach Moss. Unable to convert fourth down, but the Rams, Brett Maher misses a 44-yard field goal. But on the ensuing drive for the Colts, Michael Hocht gets a 6-yard sack. Very next play, Richardson looks for his fellow rookie, Michael Pittman Jr., but it's a jumping catch for Kobe Durant, who gets the pick. Toss to Cam Akers, punches in from 1 yard out. Deion Jackson will get a pretty good-looking 37-yard kick return at the very end of the game, but it does not matter. LA is going to pull away with the win on this one, 41-21 over the Colts. They get Philly next week in Philly as they win the battle if somebody's going to win it. They go to 1-2. Colts drop to 0-3. They get division rival Tennessee next week. Hey, speaking of the AFC South, the Houston Texans, they're hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. The first quarter, this throw that was for Deontay Johnson goes way too far ahead of him. Jimmy Ward gets the pick on him. However, Dameon Pierce would then fumble on the ensuing drive. Thankfully, Noah Brown recovers it and helps to lead to C.J. Stroud, rolling to his left and throwing for Robert Woods, who's going to get this 32-yard touchdown catch and make it 7-0 Houston. On the ensuing Steelers drive, Pickett's going to get wrapped up and taken down by Jonathan Greenard for a 6-yard sack. They're forced to punt. Then Larry Ogunjobi gets a sack of C.J. Stroud, sends him back 10 yards. Then Montravius Adams pushes him back 7 more yards on the sack. They're forced to punt. But on the ensuing drive, now it's Denzel Perryman who gets the sack, sending him back 9 yards and forcing the Steelers to punt. Stroud says, you know what? I'm done with all these sacks from both teams. I'm running it myself. And he will run it himself. And he's going to run it into Pittsburgh territory, a 46-yard run. But Larry Ogunjobi on the very next play to start the second quarter says, don't do that again, CJ. 7-yard sack. But later on in the drive, CJ Stroud says, how about I do anyway? 16-yard touchdown run. It's 14-0 Texans on the ensuing drive. Pickett runs forward, throws for George Pickens, but he finds Jimmy Ward for the pick. And Jimmy Ward is going to take this one to the 45 of Houston. But on the ensuing drive, Alex Highsmith going to sack C.J. Stroud while they're deep in Steelers territory. That's okay, because on the very next play, C.J. Stroud can just hook up with Dalton Schultz, or so he thinks when DeMonte Cassie gets the pick. But on the ensuing drive, very next play actually, Sheldon Rankins gets the 2-yard sack. Later on, though, Pickett looking and finds George Pickens and successfully finds him this time. Can he? Could he? Will he? He won't. But 50-yard catch. Pretty good. That sets up this Najee Harris 2-yard touchdown run later. It's 14-7 Texans. Then TJ Watt, younger brother of JJ Watt, the former Texan, sacks him back 7 yards. Halftime. CJ Stroud decides to run it in from 7 yards out to start the third quarter. It's 21-7 Houston. On the ensuing drive, Jimmy Ward decides he's not just good with picking, he's good with sacking Pickett on an 8-yard sack. They're forced to punt, but C.J. Stroud is then sacked by Cameron Hayward. On the ensuing punt return, Calvin Austin III, he's going to take this one 31 yards. Pretty good there. However, later on in the drive, Xavier Thomas is going to get to Kenny Pickett for a 10-yard sack. But that's all right. They drive down the field a little bit, toss it to Najee Harris. He runs it in from 9 yards out. It's 21-14 Texans, though. On the ensuing Texans drive, Montravius Adams gets to C.J. Stroud again to end the third quarter. Fourth quarter, Stroud strip sacked, and T.J. Watt recovers the fumble for Pittsburgh. They still got life. And they got even more life when they decided to hand it off to Najee Harris. And by hand it off, I mean just toss it to him. 21-yard touchdown run. It's tied up at 21. On the ensuing drive for the Houston Texans, Jarrett Patterson is going to thankfully secure this strip sack fumble of C.J. Stroud. That could have been a problem. They drive down the field a little bit, but they're not quite able to get a touchdown. They instead have to settle for this 35-yarder by Kaimi Fairbairn. So it's 24-21 Texans with about 2 minutes left to go. McFarland is going to take this one for Pittsburgh, and he's going to get to about the 25. First play of the drive. Handoff is to Najee Harris on a shovel pass. He's going to get to about the 46. Then Pickett, play action as he rolls to his right. Throws for Deontay Johnson. He's into Houston territory. Johnson is going to get to about the 21 or 22-yard line. Pickett is going to then hand it off to Najee Harris. And Harris is going to get the first down and then some. He's at the 5. 1st and 5. Harris is going to run it in. No, he gets stopped. But that's all right, because very next play, 1-yard touchdown run. It's 28-24 Steelers, who get the victory at the very last second. They go up to 1-2. Houston drops to 1-2. Houston goes to Atlanta next week. Pittsburgh, though, they get division rival Baltimore. And now we take a look at a different AFC North team, as the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Tennessee Titans, who now have Derrick Henry. They might need him. Or maybe not if Tannehill's going to connect with Treylon Burks like this. Burks wide open, has to dive for it. Can he? Could he? Will he? He won't on this diving tackle, but a 61-yard catch. But Logan Wilson later on gets to Ryan Tannehill, 10-yard sack. That forces them to settle for a 31-yard field goal by Nick Folk. So the Titans strike first. It's 3-0. On the ensuing drive, Browning gets sacked by Azeez Al-Shaair for a 9-yard sack. Later on, Evan McPherson, 57-yard field goal, doinks it in. It's tied up at 3 on the ensuing drive. Once again, Tannehill hooks up with Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks, where was he last week? A 60-yard catch. He is going to take this just short of the end zone. That's all right. Just hand it off to King Henry for a 4-yard touchdown run. It's 10-3 Titans. Ensuing Bengals drive. Browning going to run forward, but he's wrapped up by Azeez Al-Shaair, who catches him. They do drive down the field a little bit. Browning throws for Tyler Boyd. Boyd, however, short of a first down, fumbles it out of bounds, but that's all right because Browning later on just going to hook up with Irv Smith Jr. 9-yard touchdown catch. It's tied up at 10. Second quarter. Tannehill throws for DeAndre Hopkins, the former Cardinal. And he is going to score this one. 30-yard touchdown catch. It's 17-10 Titans. However, on the ensuing drive, Azeez Al-Shaair, 9-yard sack. They're forced to punt. Tannehill then fumbles the ball. It's recovered by Sam Hubbard after a bunch of bounce arounds, and he's going to get it into Titans territory and then some. He is going to get into the red zone, actually. Very next play, Browning going to be sacked by Sean Murphy. Bunting sends him back 4 yards. But next play after that, just toss it to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon going to run it in for 22 yards. It's tied up at 17. Later on, Tannehill looking. Fire is for Nick Westbrook-Ikine. Instead, he finds Cam Taylor-Britt. He's going to pick him off. Very next play, though, Danico Autry gets to Browning. Send him back 9 yards. But that's all right. They'll drive down the length of the field, hand it off to Joe Mixon, who gets an 11-yard touchdown, 24-17 Bengals. But near the end of the half, Tannehill, play action, rolls to his right. Who's he looking for? Traylon Burks! Throws over the middle to him. It's tied up at 24 at halftime. Third quarter, Browning gonna look on fire for Joe Mixon in the end zone. Dives! He gets it. 6-yard touchdown catch, 31-24 Bengals. Then Mike Hilton's gonna get a 10-yard sack on Tannehill. They're forced to punt. But Azeez Al-Shaair gets a 9-yard sack. Then later on, Roger McCreary gets an 8-yard sack. They're forced to punt. Then Sam Hubbard gets a 10-yard sack on Tannehill. Fourth quarter, Bengals with their first drive of the quarter. Azeez Al-Shaair not done with the heroics. 2-yard sack. But that means Evan McPherson later on gets a 42-yard field goal that he can sink in. 34-24, Cincinnati still has the lead. Then Henry going to run with the ball, and he's going to fumble it, and it's going to get picked up by Dax Hill. Cincinnati's going to scoop and score it for 23 yards. 41-24 Cincinnati. Ensuing drive. Hilton is going to get to Tannehill yet again, wrap him up, and take him down. A combined effort from the defensive line helps push him back 3 yards. Nick Folk tries this one from 65 yards. They don't really have much of a chance. They didn't have much of a choice either on that missed field goal. Browning looks and fires for Jamar Chase. He's going to get the diving catch. 29-yard touchdown makes it 48-24. Tannehill then gets sacked by Jermaine Pratt. 10-yard sack. Later on, fourth down. They were within red zone striking distance. Hand off to Henry. He's nowhere close. Bengals are going to win this one 48-24. They're going to improve to 3-0, and they head to Arizona next week. Tennessee, though, they drop to 1-2, and they get Indianapolis in Indy. Now for a big AFC East battle. Deontay Hardy comes back for the Buffalo Bills as they host Miami Dolphins, but as they said in the MCU, a soul for a soul. James Cook gets hurt on this run that ended 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Damian Harris is going to come in to replace him, and the Bills were forced to punt as a result. Dolphins would drive down the length of the field, and Raheem Mostert's going to punch it in from 1 yard out to strike first. 7-0 Dolphins. Then, later on, Allen, sacked by David Long. He's still able to drive down the length of the field, but later on, Bradley Chubb sacks him this time, sends him back 10 yards. They're forced to rely on a Tyler Bass 44-yard field goal, so it's 7-3. Dolphins still have a big lead, but they drive down the length of the field, and Tua looking to his right and throws for Jalen Waddle, who dives for this catch and makes it. 19-yard touchdown, makes it 14-3. Bills give the ball back later on, and Jalen Waddle gonna get another touchdown for 6 yards out, 21-3. They get the ball down the field later on again, and Raheem Mostert punches them from 6 yards out. It's 28-3. Sorry to all Falcons fans. Josh Allen on the ensuing drive gets sacked by Bradley Chubb. They're forced to punt. Braxton Berrios gets this one into Bills territory. That's the good news, is that unfortunately he is hurt as a result. So Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to come in to replace him. But that's alright because they were able to drive down the length of the field. Not able to score a touchdown because it's very close to the end of the half. But they'll settle for the points. 21-yard field goal makes it 31-3. Third quarter. Tua looks for Durham Smythe. Instead finds Taron Johnson of the Bills, who picks him off. They drive down the field a little bit. And a Damian Harris 3-yard touchdown run makes it 31-10. Dolphins get the ball back, and then Raheem Mostert will run this one. And he'll get to just shy of midfield before he fumbles it out of bounds. And that's alright, because they'll push down the field, and Raheem Mostert will punch it in from 2 yards out. It's 38-10. Later on, Bills need a miracle. Well, Josh Allen can connect with Stephon Diggs, they can probably get that miracle, especially if this gets them 54 yards downfield. However, on fourth down, they need all the points they can get, and Josh Allen fumbles the ball. They're able to recover it, but it's fourth down and they're way too short of the first down, so it's turn the run downs. They will get the ball back, but Zach Seiler sacks Josh Allen. Hand off to Harris. It's unfortunately turnover on downs. But later on, Von Miller. Yeah, we haven't heard him in a while. 8-yard sack, but the Dolphins still drive down the length of the field. Jason Sanders punches him in from 19 yards for a field goal. 41-10 Dolphins. Later on, though, Allen looking and connecting for Stephon Diggs. Diggs gonna take this one 53 yards for the touchdown. It's 41-17. They need all the help they can get. Fortunately, not able to get the onside kick recovery. Taron Johnson going to wrap up Tua. Technically a sack, even if it's a 0-yard sack, but Terrell Bernard will get another sack. This one sends it back 9 yards. On the very next play, though, Tagovailoa, play action, throws for Tyreek Hill, 29-yard touchdown catch, 48-17. And even on the next drive, when the Bills try, very last play of the game, Zach Seiler going to get the 4-yard sack on Buffalo. Dolphins come away with the victory on this one, 41-17. They go up to 2-1, and they take on the Giants next week. Meanwhile, Buffalo drops to 2-1. They're no longer perfect. They take on Tampa Bay. Speaking of the Giants, they were at home hosting the Seattle Seahawks this week. First quarter, Jones gets sacked by Mario Edwards, a 5-yard sack that forced a punch. So, that lets Geno Smith on the ensuing drive for the Seahawks hook up with DK Metcalf, who is going to take this one 59 yards. Not quite enough for a score, but that's all right. Kenneth Walker III will do the rest with this 10-yard touchdown run off that little shovel scoop pass. 7-0, Seahawks take the lead. Ensuing Giants drive, Jones strip sacked. Picked up by Jordan Brooks. He's going to scoop and score this one 16 yards. It's 14-0 Seahawks. And later on, Jones going to get, once again, sacked by Mario Edwards. A 6-yard sack. Then, Daniel Jones looking and firing for Saquon Barkley. He finds Jamal Adams. Oh, not something you want if you're the Giants. They do get the ball back. However, Saquon going to fumble the ball. It's recovered by Seattle. Can't quite tell who. But it doesn't matter who. What matters is if the Seahawks can score, and they will if Jackson Smith and Jigba can take this one in from a 20-yard touchdown catch, 21-0 Seattle. Then, to end the first quarter, Mario Edwards says, "Hi again," 4-yard sack. Second quarter, Geno has the ball, looking and fire from Jackson Smith and Jigba, instead finds Xavier McKinney on the pick. So the Giants do get the ball back. On the ensuing drive, Jones hands it off to Saquon Barkley. Barkley going to fumble the ball. It bounces around, and it bounces out of bounds. So the Giants still maintain possession. They drive down the field, and Saquon's going to run this in from 12 yards out. 21-7 Seattle. But on the Seahawks' next drive, Smith looking and firing to his left for Tyler Lockett. Can he? Could he? Will he? He won't, but it is a 59-yarder that will later set up Tyler Lockett getting this catch from Geno Smith for 22 yards out, 28-7 Seattle. Jones going to roll to his right on the next drive, and he's going to fumble the ball. Thankfully for the Giants, Mike Glowinski is there to recover it. However, Jones going to throw for Darren Waller. Instead finds Jamal Adams again. They drive down the field. Seattle at the very end of the half. Let's Jason Myers kick this in from 27 yards out. It's 31-7 Seahawks. Third quarter, Zach Charbonnet. I'll have a Charbonnet as the Seahawks take this one 36 yards in the kick return. Very next play, Geno looking for DK Metcalf, the former basketball player in college. He got signed by Seattle as a rookie, and he gets it to the 1, not to the house. Still, very next play, Kenneth Walker III cleans up the work. 2-yard touchdown run, 38-7 Seahawks. On the ensuing kickoff return, Gary Brightwell. He's going to make a pretty good-looking return here, dodging and weaving all around the Seahawks. A 31-yard kick return. But Mario Edwards going to get to Geno Smith yet again, a 2-yard sack. Very next play, Jerron Reed decides to get in on the sacking action. 8-yard sack pushes them back even further. And then, to add on to this, very next play after that, Mario Edwards makes it 3 sacks in a row for the Seahawks. On the ensuing punt return, Charbonnet is going to get hurt on this one. A 17-yard kick return. He's hurt. Kenny McIntosh is going to come in to replace him. But the Seahawks going to drive down the field some more. And Smith going to drop back on this one. Looking and firing for Jackson Smith and Jigba. Finds him again this time. 17-yard touchdown catch. Makes it 45-7 Seattle. On the ensuing Giants drive. Throw is for Darren Waller. Waller, he is going to get taken down, and he's going to fumble it, but it bounces out of bounds. Thankfully, not into any Seahawks players' hands. That helps to set up Jones looking and firing for Saquon Barkley on this little screen pass, who will just run it in, 8-yard touchdown. It's 45-14. But to start the fourth quarter, Tyler Lockett. Can he? Could he? Will he? He will! A 62-yard touchdown catch makes it 52-49 Seattle. On the ensuing kickoff return, Gary Brightwell. He did it once earlier in the game at 31 yards. Now he's going to do a 34-yard kick return. Very next play, though, Bobby Wagner. Still from the Legion of Boom, the only one remaining from that Seahawks Super Bowl team. 8-yard sack and then a 9-yard sack later on. Very next play, Jones looks for Hodgins. Isaiah Hodgins unable to secure it. It's a turnover on downs because it was 4th down. And later on, Smith hooks up once again with DK Metcalf. 31-yard touchdown makes it 59-14. Ensuing drive for the Giants. Hand off to Barkley deep in Seattle territory. He fumbles the ball. This time it doesn't go out of bounds. It's recovered by Jordan Brooks. However, later on in the drive, Smith going to try and run forward. Instead, he gets found by Kayvon Thibodeau. A 3-yard sack. They're forced to punt. Jones throws for Darius Slayton on a 4th down conversion. 39-yard 4th down conversion that almost gets there to be a score. However, later on, Jordan Brooks gets a sack on Daniel Jones. But later on, end of the game, Jones looks and fires for Isaiah Hodgins. Doesn't matter, though. 59-21 Seahawks win this one. They go to 2-1, and they go to Cincinnati in Week 5. They have a bye week in Week 4. Giants drop to 0-3 and take on Miami in Florida next week. Now for what should have been Calvin Ridley's revenge game. Instead, Jaguars just happy to get Tank Bigsby and Jamal Agnew back as they take on the Falcons. Very first play, the kick return, D. Alford. He's going to take this one 32 yards for Atlanta. However, they're forced to punt since they can't do anything with it. Then, Beathard gets wrapped up by Grady Jarrett, sent back 8 yards. Then later on, very next play actually, Calais Campbell sends them back 7 yards for the sack. They're forced to punt. Falcons drive down the length of the field, just toss it to Bijan Robinson, the rookie. 1-yard touchdown run makes it 7-0 Falcons. But Jamal Agnew, he wants to give the Jaguars a better chance and wants to show that he may have been hurt last week, but he's not. That doesn't mean that he's rusty at all. 46-yard kick return, but can't really do anything with it if Caden Allen sacks you and sends you back 9 yards. They are still able to get it down enough that Brandon McManus can make this 55-yard field goal and make it 7-3 Falcons. Second quarter, Ritter hands it off to Tyler Algier, who's going to punch it in from 2 yards out, 14-3 Falcons. Jaguars do drive down the length of the field, but they have to rely on Brandon McManus again. 21-yard field goal makes it 14-6 Falcons. Then, later on, Ritter looking for Bijan Robinson. Instead, he finds Tyson Campbell, so the Jaguars get the ball back. And Tank Bigsby, who's currently the runner since they do not have Travis Etienne, he runs this in from 13 yards out. Rookie gets a 14-13, makes it 14-13 to end the half. Third quarter, Jamal Agnew, he is going to channel his Devin Hester, run it 52 yards. Very next play, Tank Bigsby takes it the rest of the way to the house. Jaguars take the lead for the first time in the game. It's 20-14 Jacksonville. Later on, Ritter looking, firing for Robinson again. Finds Tyson Campbell again. That sets up Beathard looking and firing for Captain Kirk, Christian Kirk, to his right. He's going to get a 42-yard touchdown, nearly gets tackled, but no one going to stop him. It's 27-14. The Jaguars do get the ball back later on. Kirk going to dive for this one, but immediately he fumbles it. It gets recovered by Jesse Bates of the Falcons. So Atlanta, still not done. They do drive down deep enough for Younghoe Koo to make this 35-yard field goal. It's a 10-point game. Ensuing kickoff, Jamal Agnew still not done with the amazing-looking returns. This one, a 39-yard kick return. Big drive down the length of the field. However, C.J. Beathard, when he tries to adjust, Calais Campbell gets to him, 5-yard sack. Very next play, Grady Jarrett is going to get to him when he tries to adjust. It's a 2-yard sack, so that means they have to rely on Brandon McManus' leg again. He's going to make this 21-yard field goal. Chip shot, 30-17 Jaguars. Next drive for the Falcons. Tyler Algier gets the handoff. He's going to get a first down and then some. And then he's going to fumble the ball, but he's going to fumble it out of bounds, thankfully. That'll help set up right after this connection from Desmond Ridder rolling to his left to Drake London. 35-yard touchdown catch in the end zone. It's 30-24. Jaguars still have a 6-point lead. But it will not help them if Beathard gets sacked by Troy Anderson this time. A 4-yard sack. And then Beathard hands it off to Bigsby. The rookie fumbles it. It is recovered by Jeff Okudah, and the Falcons might have a chance here. Ridder going to hand it off to rookie Bijan Robinson. Bijan, the mustard man, takes an 5-yard touchdown. It's now 31-30 Falcons. Christian Kirk's attempted catches instead have been picked off by Jesse Bates. And he's going to take this one almost to the house. He gets pulled back. That's all right. Just let the mustard man do the work. A 9-yard touchdown catch from Ridder to Robinson. It's a 38-30 lead for the Falcons. Then Agnew going to take this recovery, and he is going to get a pretty good return on it. It is a fumble that gets recovered by A.J. Terrell, so the Falcons should get the ball back. This game is pretty much over, and just to add insult to injury, Bijan Robinson going to run this in from 4 yards out. Falcons win this one by 15. It's a 45-30 victory for Atlanta. They get their first win of the game. They go to 1-2, and they take on Houston next week. Jacksonville, meanwhile, they got a bye week as they go to 1-2. They might need it to get back Trevor Lawrence. And then they take on Indianapolis. And finally, let's head to Big Easy, where the Saints are hosting division rival Tampa. First quarter, Vita Vea going to get a 7-yard sack. They're forced to punt. Then, connection from Baker Mayfield to Chris Godwin, a 38-yard touchdown. It's 7-0 Tampa. Then Derek Carr is going to get sacked again by Vita Vea, another 7-yard sack. But that's all right, because Carr can just throw it to Alvin Kamara. He's going to take this one 39 yards for the touchdown. And it's now tied up at 7. Ensuing kickoff, Devin Tompkins. He's going to try to make a pretty big return. He's going to fumble it, but he fumbles it out of bounds, thank goodness. And then later on, Mayfield going to get taken down from behind by Nathan Shepard to dove for his legs. Start this literal first play of the second quarter, though. Mayfield connects once again with Chris Godwin. 12 yards out. And that's a touchdown. 14-7 Bucks. Will not be outdone. Carr going to connect with Jawan Johnson. A 16-yard touchdown catch ties it up at 14. On the ensuing drive, Tompkins going to fumble it again. Doesn't go out of bounds. Instead, it gets found by Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, former LSU Tiger, actually. Still in Louisiana now. And that leads to Alvin Kamara getting a 1-yard touchdown run, 21-14 Saints. Then, Matthew's going to get another pick, going to get a pick this time. This was meant for a O'Keefe. That leads to this Alvin Kamara run. He's going to fumble the ball. It's going to get picked up by Levante David, who ties it up at 21 off a 21-yard scoop and score. Ensuing Saints drive, Carr looking for Jawan Johnson. He finds Ryan Neal, who just gets out of bounds right away. That helps to set up this connection from Mayfield to Chris Godwin. 40-yard touchdown. No one anywhere close when he's wide open. 28-21 Tampa at the half. Third quarter, Mayfield's first drive of the half. Alontae Taylor is going to sack him for 6 yards. But they're forced to punt. Saints forced to punt after. Then Mike Evans. Can he? Could he? Will he? He won't, but a 60-yard catch, nothing to sneeze at. And that helps to set up this connection from Mayfield to Chris Godwin. 11-yard touchdown catch makes it 35-21 Buccaneers. Carr then fumbles the ball. It was then recovered by Levante David. Once again, David proving to get on that ball when he needs to. But another defensive player makes another appearance here. Tyrann Mathieu returns on this pick that was meant for Cato. And Carr on the ensuing drive gets sacked once again by Vita Vea. 8-yard sack. That eventually leads to Carr having to throw for Chris Olave. And it's a pretty good throw. He is practically wide open on what was supposed to be a diving attempt at a pick. Does not get a pick. And instead, it just is a 55-yard catch. But on the ensuing, later on in the drive, they go for fourth down. They get a turnover on downs. But Demario Davis sacks Baker Mayfield in the end zone. A safety, 35-23. Saints still have a chance. Carr drives them down the field. Throw for Chris Olave to his right. Touchdown. It's a 14-yard touchdown. Makes it 35-30. Then, on the ensuing drive, Pete Werner's going to wrap up and take down Baker Mayfield for a 3-yard sack. But that's all right, because the next play, who does he find? Chris Godwin. A 32-yard touchdown. It's 42-30 Buccaneers. On the ensuing drive for Carr, Vita Vea's not done. 8-yard sack. Very next play, Kalijah Cansey gets to him. It's an 8-yard sack. This game is pretty much over, but Chris Olave wants one more for the highlight reel, and Derek Carr is going to give it to him. A 52-yard catch that doesn't really lead to a score or mean anything. Buccaneers come away with the 12-point win on this one. They go to 2-1 and take on Buffalo in Buffalo next week. Saints drop to 0-3 and have to head up to New England. Now it's time for our offensive and defensive players of the week for both conferences, starting with the NFC. The offensive player of the week, Bijan Robinson, the rookie for the Atlanta Falcons, had 18 running attempts at 174 yards. That's an average of 9 2/3 yards per attempt with 3 touchdowns. He also had a 9-yard touchdown catch. For the defensive player of the week, Mario Edwards of the Seattle Seahawks, who had 5 sacks, which totaled up 20 yards. That's 4 yards per sack. For the AFC, Offensive Player of the Week, Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for Kansas City. He was 16 for 26 at 432 yards. That's an average of 27 yards per completion, and threw 4 touchdowns. He also rushed 3 times at 27 yards, an average of 9 yards per run, which resulted in 1 touchdown. For the Defensive Player of the Week for the AFC, Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders had 3 sacks for 21 yards. That's an average of 7 yards per sack, and he had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. That's all that we're going to have for Tecmo Rewind this week. Join us on Thursday for our game of the week between the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers, and make sure to join us next Sunday for Tecmo Rewind of Week 5. For all of us here at SVGN, the Sports Video Game Network, I'm Joe saying good night, everybody.